So, ladies and gentlemen, without further ado, I want to introduce you to, I don't think I'll be introducing him to anyone. I want to introduce you to my friend and yours, the great Patrik Walker at Voice of the Star. And there is no C in Patrick.
None.
Pat, how you doing, brother?
I'm doing great. How's it going, Joe?
Did you hear McCarthy's talking about how he has no regrets about who played and who got the ball all the time, and it was all great and perfect?
I did, which is basically what he echoed. I mean, he's echoing sentiments that, kind of roll over from the 2021 season, but as well as everyone who follows me knows, as big of a guy as I am on Ezekiel Elliott, I'm even bigger on making sure that the team is managing the roster appropriately. And the egregious mismanagement of Zeke's injury was just unforgivable. I mean, I penned a piece, what was that, early December, late November, saying that they needed to pull him and not leave it up to him. And then here we are in February, but in January, we hear once the season ended, in his post-game press conference after the 49ers booted them out of the postseason, that he was playing with a torn PCL. What are we doing here, Jeff? What are we doing here?
And it's super wild, right? Because in some ways, that's even a setup that your player is going to be the one who gets punished for this, because people like me and tons of fans are going to be like, hey, how come the guy who's getting 5.5 yards per carry isn't playing more? And then at the end of the year, you're like, yeah, by the way, Zeke was hurt for 12 weeks. And we're like, oh, so you were playing a hurt guy.
There you go.
Over the 5.5 yard guy.
There you go. And that makes that right. That is unforgivable. And it kind of harkens back to what Dez Bryant said on his way out of Dallas. After he was, unexpectedly released by the Cowboys, he basically he went on his Dez Bryant rant, and one key thing stuck out, and that thing was, don't play injured. don't play injured thinking that you're doing it because, okay, well, I want to be there for the team. I want to be a gladiator. That's noble. That is absolutely noble. But when things don't go well because you're injured, when your production suffers a downturn because you're injured, when the team is no longer winning games for several reasons, but that's one of the reasons, because of the downturn that you're experiencing because you're injured, then comes everyone out of the woodworks and they say, you know what? He's washed. We knew it. But we saw Ezekiel Elliott prior to the injury, week 1, week 2, week 3. We were talking. It was a different tune. It was, oh my God, he looks as quick as he's ever looked. The burst is there. The offseason training that he put in is paying off like gangbusters. But he got injured, and he had played and tried to battle through that injury for 3/4 of the season, to the point where recency bias took over, and now everybody forgot what he looked like before the Cowboys made the mistake of playing an injured player instead of a healthy and capable backup in Tony Pollard. So that's where you and I are together on that one. We differ in who is the actual franchise running back, but we do agree that, all things considered, Tony Pollard should have been getting the bulk of the snaps in 2021. Once it came back to the Cowboys that Zeke suffered a torn PCL in his knee. Just unforgivable.
Either way, a year from now, they're both gone. Pollard's contract is up.
Oh, yeah, Pollard's out of here. Yeah, Pollard's out of here.
He's going to be really good. It's going to be so much fun getting him in fantasy, not this year, but next year. Once he's on a team that's going to give him the ball bunch, it's going to be incredible. Now, Patrik, who I introduced, but I don't think I gave all of your credentials. If there's anyone here who doesn't know, he's at Voice of the Star on Twitter. He is on CBS Sports HQ. He writes for CBS Sports. There is Catch This Fade, the podcast, Patreon. So support Patrik Walker. Our rule here on the Jeff Cavanaugh Show is, what do they say about rising tide? All the boats. Look, all the boats go that way. We're all going that way.
What's the text I sent you yesterday? Circle of success, my friend. Circle of success.
We're building castles.
There you go. Building castles. We all hold each other's hands. We all climb together.
Now, we're at the combine now. And we'll get to see, how everybody works out and how many different things we hear from the Joneses every day, because they love attention. But heading into it,
no way. Yeah,
a little bit. I know you just wrote
Pearl Clutch.
you just wrote your manifesto, the offseason manifesto. Do you have a Cliff Notes version for what the ideal Cowboys offseason looks like?
Well, for one, I think that the Cowboys, I am one that believes the Cowboys need to go all in. I am one, however, that believes that that doesn't look the same for every team. Um, if we were having this conversation about should the Cowboys go all in a year ago, then I think it would more mirror going hard in free agency and trying to do or trying to, imitate, for lack of a better way to put it, what the Rams ultimately did and what the Rams have been doing for several years. And that's why they got the two Super Bowls in the past four, and then they won one. But this is a different situation for the Cowboys this offseason. I mean, this is one where they have a list of free agents, or in-house free agents, which is not abnormal. But what is abnormal is the amount of talent that's in that list of in-house free agents. And obviously, you can start at the top of the list with Randy Gregory and Dalton Schultz, but then when you go deeper, you and I were both Michael Gallup hive, and I believe he'll come back and he'll be great after the torn ACL, but bad timing there for him. So now we're talking prove it deal with him potentially. But you look at someone like Jaron Kearse, for example, had a breakout season. I think he's a must re-sign. So I think when it comes to going all in, yes, the Cowboys should do it. I think that this year's iteration of that looks like going hard at trying your best to keep the band together. And that also means not making dumb decisions when it comes to premier players like, DeMarcus Lawrence and Amari Cooper. So that it goes to that as well. So that should be your primary free agency approach because you're so loaded with talent in your in-house free agent list. But then you can't stop there. And that's the problem is for me is Stephen Jones wants to stop there. You can't stop there. You're going to, because you can't keep everyone. But even if you could keep most, you're still going to need to add additional pieces. And that could be in the draft with a big name. I'm here for the Von Miller talk, but I don't think it's an attractive situation for Von Miller. He's not going to play second fiddle to anyone right now. And if they can retain Randy Gregory and then don't make the mistake on DeMarcus Lawrence, Von Miller is not a starter here because Randy Gregory is going to be starting opposite DeMarcus Lawrence. Because if Tank is here, you're still paying him that money. He's still the starter on the left defensive end. But I think you look at, not necessarily less expensive, but less expensive options on the defensive side of the ball. Look at Tyrann Mathieu, for example. This is a perfect opportunity to circle back and correct the mistake that you made by not signing him in free agency years ago.
You are asking this team to sign big dogs.
For me, Honey Badger is a big dog, but he's not the biggest dog out there. A bigger dog would be like Jesse Bates, Marcus Williams, for example. I think that Tyrann Mathieu, based upon his age, still a ton of tread left on the tires. But as compared to a player like Marcus Williams with the Saints or a player like Jesse Bates, which is I would love to have Bates Motel here in Dallas. I think Tyrann Mathieu is the tier B, or at least 1B, 1C rather, in that grid. So I think that it's worth a call, and I think that Tyrann Mathieu would not mind playing for the Cowboys. He didn't mind. He wouldn't mind playing for him when the Cowboys passed on him the first time in free agency. Hell, he wouldn't mind playing for him when they passed on him in the draft years ago. But you go and you get at least one piece of that magnitude, and then that will, then you can kind of scale back because I know how the Cowboys are going to do. Then you can kind of scale back and do most of your work in the second and third tertiary waves because you want to lean heavily on the NFL draft, and that's fine. That's what Will McClay is here for. That's what you signed him to a multi-year extension for. Let the man cook. He's been cooking well thus far. Let him continue to cook. For me, though, to wrap up that answer completely, it then goes to what you do in the NFL draft. You have needs that are glaring. Offensive line, for example, you have an issue at linebacker outside of Micah Parsons. We don't know what Jabril Cox is going to be because we didn't get a chance to see what he might be before he suffered a torn ACL. So you got to have a contingency plan there. Releasing DeMarcus Lawrence or trading him post June 1st. Now you're taking the versatility away from Micah Parsons because you're going to play him on the edge. Don't make mistakes that you don't have to make because it frees you up to be more flexible in the NFL draft. So now you can address your offensive line. You may not get Tyler Linderbaum unless you move up from 24, but there are other options that can be had, especially if you're not going specifically and wholeheartedly for need, which no one should ever do. You look at that Georgia defense. I mean, Jeff, throw a penny.
Okay, see,
throw a penny.
Pat, where are you from? Pat, where are you from?
Oh, I'm from Mars, but that's neither here.
Who's your baseball team?
Listen, I'm sorry. The bark come out just randomly every once in a while. Kind of Tourette's with that. But listen, this is completely objective, and you know it is because you are on the same page. You can throw a penny at that Georgia defense, and whomever you hit is probably somebody you should select if you're the Dallas Cowboys. Jerry Jones just needs to get over that bias that Quincy Carter put in his heart, that fear of UGA that Quincy Carter put in his heart. Just do it. It's just too much talent on this Georgia defense. And I mean, even if you did make the mistake, or maybe let's say you don't make the mistake with Amari Cooper, let's say you're smart. But let's say you lose Michael Gallup. Okay, well, day 2 pick could be someone like George Pickens, for example. I mean, if you're Jerry Jones, and you get over this UGA bias, there's a wealth of defensive talent to be had there. And you want to make sure that you're reloading Dan Quinn with the right pieces so he can continue to cook. But you also have a couple of offensive options. But if you hamstring yourself by not
picking your college's players,
I mean, that's one way to put it. I wouldn't put it that way. You're welcome to put it that way. I mean, because championship players tend to be champions at the next level. I mean,
I'd take Nakobe Dean. I'd take Nakobe Dean.
You damn well take Nakobe Dean. You damn well will. Hey, if we learn nothing from the Los Angeles Rams, Jeff, if we learn nothing from them, we learn that if you put UGA players on your roster, you'll win the Super Bowl. That's pretty much that was my takeaway. Stafford. Yes, that was my takeaway. Stafford, I don't think that's the trade for Sony Michel, right? Okay.
That's a fair takeaway. And I tell you what, there is another guy now that I've actually watched all of the Georgia players, and there's like 73 on defense that you have to watch.
That's what I'm saying. Throw a penny, whoever you hit, draft them.
And actually, go backwards for a second. I do think that there's a chance Linderbaum is available at 24. I do think.
Not out of the question.
But we'll see. Now, if let's say that did happen and you took Linderbaum and Nakobe Dean was already gone, Quay Walker has turned into one of my favorites for the second round. Like that, they just got, you didn't get our top linebacker? Here, let me have the second one. And if you miss out on him, it's like, oh, sorry, you missed out on him. Here's Channing Tindall. Oh, here, like it's just stupid what Georgia has.
Throw a penny. Whomever you hit on that Georgia defense, it's there for you.
Jordan
the
Davis,
Cowboys just really
Wyatt,
have White Walker. I mean, you really just have to get over your bias or your negative bias against UGA, because anyone who's been following the Cowboys for any amount of time, since the Quincy Carter days, knows that the Cowboys just they're adverse to Georgia players. I mean, even in free agency.
I had never even thought of it.
I'm telling you.
But now I will.
It's right there. It's right there. It's hiding in plain sight, Jeff. It's hiding in plain sight. But I refuse to let it go on any longer. This is the year the Cowboys select a Georgia player.
Man, I think that, it's like I think maybe more teams are going to sign or draft Georgia players than don't draft Georgia players.
That would be wise. Dudes. You know why? Because people want to win, presumably. Anyway,
championships are fun.
Yeah, teams want to win as long as you're not, Stephen Ross. You presumably want to win.
Yeah, most. I mean, I support that Stephen Ross was committed.
Leonard Floyd, absolutely. But Leonard Floyd, looking at the chat, Leonard Floyd wasn't an acquisition in 2021. That's why I didn't name him as a UGA player.
No, but champion, of course.
Yeah, absolutely.
Champion. Is there anything else that you would like to get in before I go back to reading super chats and hanging out in my pajamas?
Honestly, I just want to use this opportunity not to plug anything that I got going on. Nope. This is your castle. You're building it. I just want to say that I am very, very proud of you. We've had hundreds of conversations offline. And the fact that it's gotten to this point where you're finally putting your brick and mortar together, I just absolutely love to see it. Anything you need from me, I'm a phone call away. I'm a text away. You have platinum pass. You already know every time you hit my phone, it's a pickup. Every time you send me a text, it's a reply. So just keep building. And ladies and gentlemen who are watching this, those who are jumping in the chat, those who are supporting him with super chat, this is one of the best in the business. And the fact that he is venturing on his own is only going to give him the platitude to be able to take off like he should have been able to years ago. So keep doing God's work out here in these sports journalism streets. And holler if you need me, man. Keep it going.
I love you. You're a good human. You're a good person. And Pat is one of the best in the business, whether it's talking, whether it's writing, whether it's humanity, whatever. Pat is a beast, and there is no C in his name. And as the great Jesse Pinkman once said on Breaking Bad, science, bitch.
Science. Love you, brother.
All right.